Welcome to the Builders of Authority podcast, a show committed to helping you build authority for your brand. In the realm of business and personal branding, authority stands as a cornerstone. Authority isn't built overnight, it's built over time. So join us as we build something remarkable together. And now, here's your host, Adam McChesney.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Builders of Authority podcast. We're live here at Adventure Unknown in Fenton, Missouri. If you are someone looking to level up in life and business and you haven't made it out to AU yet, send me a message. Would love to have you come visit AU, see everything we have going on here, from the networking space to all of the different amenities and activities that we have going on here. It's just a great place for entrepreneurs and people that are looking for that community and network here in the St. Louis area. It's a great place to be. Also, you can come see where we do the podcast, right? Where we shoot all of the content in partnership with True Line Media Group, formerly Punchline Productions. They're the ones behind the scenes making this all possible. So we'd love to introduce you to them, show you everything that they're doing for us. Today, I'm joined by someone that I just got connected with actually a few weeks back. My accountant actually recommended that we connect after hearing that I bought my first short-term rental. So we hopped on a Zoom call, chatted for a bit, and I was like, this guy needs to come on my podcast. He was a wealth of knowledge in the short period of time we had a conversation. He has an impressive background and is just great of information, right? Full of great information. So my guest today is Jeff Lage. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it. Thanks,
yeah, man. I was fired up just talking to you before all this. I'm like, man, we got to save some of this for the show.
Yeah.
Tell
cool.
people a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah. So Jeffrey Lage, I'm short-term rental property management, vacation rental property management. My story is historically real estate investing from Southeast Missouri. Bought my first rental in 2013 and was very aggressive through bank leveraging and creative financing, being able to scale from 1 to about 200 houses, single family homes. But it's in Southeast Missouri where the real estate prices weren't that bad. And so there was a lot of aggression there, some fail points along the way. 2019 started doing some short-term rentals. I'd moved to St. Louis at that point. And then by doing the short-term rentals, COVID actually ended up being a blessing, which it wasn't for a lot, but it was for our business. And so I ended up building a property management company to just keep up, because short-term rentals are so much more laborious. The phone calls, you got to take care of things immediately, as opposed to 200 long-term houses. You know, there's bandwidth there. Yeah. So on a short-term rental, I scaled that pretty quick, started doing 1031s, 2021, 2022, and then started doing the management side. Management started with a couple of buddies, making a few bets with people that we could pay them more than they could with their own management. That turned into referrals for people I didn't know. Referrals turned into a very quickly expanding network. We went nationwide in 23. So today, I think we're in 16 states or something like that, growing pretty quick.
Amazing.
And so it's just taken off since then.
That's so cool. So you went from the long-term stuff to the short-term stuff, obviously mentioning that COVID was a blessing, right? What are some of the pros and cons, obviously, to the decision you made to kind of say, hey, here's where we're going?
Yeah. Property management's hard. It's a service-based company. Service-based is you have customers on both ends. You have an owner who's a customer, and you have a guest who's a customer. And so you're servicing kind of both simultaneously. So it's hard because it's service-focused. Yeah. Service is hard to scale, but property management of itself still has the same X's and O's. Yeah. It's not a novel concept. How you do it isn't novel, but the why did change. And so I had more fun on the front end with owners who were looking and exploring what they might buy. Mm-hmm. And I found that my background and how I had done that was way more engaging. Mm-hmm. And so I had more fun talking with people and identifying what they would do, their strategies, and really just sitting in parallel with them, as opposed to the way most property management companies work is, hey, we're in, Panama City and you're buying a short-term rental. Here's, we manage short-term rentals here in Panama City, and we're one of the 10 companies that do that. Uh-huh. Well, what if instead of being subjected to the owner's whims of the investment, what if you're in parallel with that owner and work with them and say, all right, here's your strategy. Here's how that's going to work. Here's how you analyze it. Here's how you, underwrite your own real estate. Here's how you can make real estate apply to your investment strategy. Most people that are investing in real estate aren't doing it very actively full time. A lot of people are doing it as an additional asset investment that they need. So how do you sit in parallel and strategize with people? And so what that allowed us to do, and really what you need to do to open a new market, is a handful of things. It's actually not that challenging once you've done it and repeated it a few times. And so we found that we could do that and work in parallel with patient people who are willing to let me discover and explore together.
Yep.
And it went really well. And so then those referrals going well turn into a lot of referrals. And so our entire growth has always been referral based, which is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I love what you mentioned before, and you just mentioned earlier as well, as like the bet.
Yeah.
Right. Like, cause like, you know, there people talk about it all the time, like in your marketing strategy and branding and messaging, like what's your guarantee, right? When you have a guarantee or a bet, right, that is like that, it just makes a lot of sense, and it makes it easier. Even again, I was having the conversation with my wife last night, and I'm like, hey, I'm talking to Jeff tomorrow again. Cause you know, we've been going back and forth on like, doesn't make sense, doesn't it? And then you're just like, hey, like, even if we think we can do okay at it, if he can do the same thing and it ends up making us the same money, but we don't have to worry about it. Like, tell me where I'm like missing the boat on the craziness, right?
Totally.
So like, I think so many people, obviously we do digital marketing for about 100 companies right now across the country, mainly like contractors and home service business, where it's very cutthroat, right? Yeah. But where you're creating a niche to who you serve, the branding and the messaging, on the grassroots stuff, the referrals, the word of mouth, but having that like of being able to connect with the owner to say, hey, I can bet on this and I'm willing to go do it. Like, so many people want to go start dumping money. And as you mentioned before, like $0 in paid ads. We've spent $0 in paid ads this year too. We just do our own SEO, which helps us, and we do the social media. But like, so many people want to go like the easy route, not being willing to say, hey, I'm going to go put this on the line and go do that. So like, talk to me about how you kind of like thought about that and then have just ran that play. Like,
I mean, that starts in, a lot of it's, I think, starts by caring about the person you're doing this with. Do you see them as a sales asset, or do you see it as like, I actually want them to win too?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't see real estate. They see it as transactional. Yeah. How do we both win? Well, what you need for your Airbnb to be really successful is intentional tools and intentional management. And it's to be in the top performing, say in the top 10th percentile of your asset class in your market and all those things. It's just a handful of specific things, but it does take intent.
Yeah.
And so you have to set the tools up, and you could do it. Yeah. Like if you wanted to, and you're intelligent enough to sit down and you could work at it and set the tools in place, you could put in the application for it, and you would be able to do it.
Yeah.
You're able to execute it. You understand, you would be able to take feedback, review it, understand it, set your pricing, find the tools and assets. Anybody is capable of it.
Yeah.
But do you want to take the time to execute that? Yeah. Most people don't.
Yeah.
And so the bet, it starts with a handful of friends, that bet, which was, I bet I can get you paid with me managing it. So I'll get a management fee, but I'm going to accelerate your revenue by 20% to accommodate myself. Yeah. You're going to get paid the same amount, but you don't have to touch it. And so it becomes passive, this very active real estate investment class, which it does take activity. Even if it's low volume, it still takes in that repeated, intentional, consistent work. What we're saying is, you don't have to talk to a cleaner. You don't have to worry about a maintenance thing. You don't have to worry about a guest calling at 9 p.m. on a Friday. We're going to take care of all that, and you're going to get paid the same. And that's a bet a lot of people are willing to take.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many, like, my mind just like blown with all this stuff. So like, as Jeff mentioned, like, I've done so much research, and like, you have to go through the research process, like, one, for the tax purposes. Yes, like, we got to do it right now.
You got to know what you're doing.
So we got to do it right now ourselves. And it's like, again, like, I've been telling people, like, I've been spending so much time, like a disgusting amount of time, just like educating and consuming. Cause like, even if we turn it over to you, I still want to know all the different little features.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, but I want to know the ins and outs of it. But then you look at it, it's just like, hey, we finally got the listing up, and we did get like 3 bookings already within a week, which is like, I don't know if that's good or bad or whatever, but it like feels okay, right? It feels like we're on the right path. But then, like, crazy story, we caught our cleaner literally drinking our alcohol, and it was like a referral from like 2 other people. And we got stranded trying to come back from Panama City recently, and we were stuck in Dallas, but we were thinking, hey, let's just go back to the condo tonight. Like, we don't have guests coming this weekend. So we messaged the cleaning lady, and she's like, oh my gosh, I have stuff everywhere, and I was drinking your guys' alcohol, so I was gonna replace it. And then we're like, how does this happen? So those people think. People think, right, as you mentioned, they think, oh my gosh, this is just going to be like this fun little project.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter regardless of what it is, whether it's short-term rentals, a hobby, or whatever. Like, if you want it to do well, you have to go with the intentionality. You have to treat it as if it's a business. Otherwise, it's just not going to be because a lot of people are like, oh, just go buy Airbnb. You're going to make all this money. And it's like, no.
Maybe in 2016, 17, when they were still on the horizon and it was a new cool thing. Yeah. Today, there's such a saturation of them. There's so much inventory. So many people have done it. Mm-hmm. You're not booking on the 15th page of Airbnb. Mm-hmm. You're booking first page or second page when you look as a guest. Mm-hmm. And it's the same SEO type work that you do on Google or anywhere else. It's the same on Airbnb, Vrbo booking. Listings that get booked stay in the front. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. And so how do you and there's little differences. I mean, they're really minor. It's all the same. You'd figure it out quickly. But it does take consistent and repeated work. Yeah. Having a system for whenever a cleaner would do something like that. How do we handle people? How do we handle process? And it's the same X's and O's. Yeah. But you'd absolutely be able to do it. But to make another 20%, my bet was, all right, so your condo, and I don't know the details, but let's say your condo is going to do $70,000 a year in gross bookings, and we would make 20% of that, $14,000. If you self-managed it and you were able to get it to 80,000-ish or so, let's say you could do that, but you're going to spend 5 hours on average a week on it. Is that worth the $14,000 to you? 5 hours a week, and I don't know. And so that becomes that bet for people.
Yes.
And we'll sit there and we're held accountable because what we do is I always look at it from a true cost of ownership. So for your property, for example, we take a look through it and we put it into our pro formas and we imagine and compare all the comparables. We have a pretty good target on how we'll perform. Yeah. And so then we build you a cost of ownership analysis. Yeah. Your NOI, what we expect your payouts to be, how we see your mortgage, your cap rate versus your interest rate if you have a mortgage. So it's worth knowing your margins. Yeah. And then we're held accountable to that performance. And then, what's our probability of success on that? 90% accuracy generally, especially in a denser market like that. But we'll be pretty close and you'll be able to make a true assessment of how you can do versus that. And it's just a bet of your time versus your investment. Yeah. That's it. And that's okay. Yeah. And I'm never offended by anyone. Go do it yourself. Also, here's my tips and tricks on self-management. I've always given that away. Yeah. If you want to self-manage, here's your tips and tricks. Here's how I would, approach these items. This is what I do. Yeah. It's not competitive. This isn't, trade secrets or anything special. Anybody can do it. Yeah. But do you want to take the time to do it?
Yeah. So I always tell people I have a very similar approach, right? And my team does as well, is implementation. Information is free. Implementation is the fee, right? So we'll go in and we'll give somebody an in-depth discovery call, proposal, analysis, where it's like, here's all the things wrong. And if you go fix all these things, you're going to be able to go do it. Here's our price. And some people will take that, run with it, and then never do anything with it. Yep. Most of the time they do that, or they end up hiring us, or they hire somebody else or whatever. But so many people, right, as they're growing their business and they're building their company and marketing and branding, they're like, oh my gosh, I have all these secrets. I don't want to give it away. It's no, but to the wrong people, it's never going to go anywhere. They're going to take it and they may fumble around with it and do it. They may spend 5 hours a week doing what would have been better for them to just make the investment on. But for the right people, those ideal clients, they're going to say, oh my gosh, Jeff and Adam know what they're talking about. I'd rather just pay the damn money and just be done with it.
Well, and I mean, this is hard. Yeah. The implementation is hard. Yeah. Go for it. If you want to do it, and that's not an arrogant response, it's just, it's hard to come do this and spend the labor and the time. It sounds great, whatever, to do this, but then you think about all the little activity that you do throughout time. It's another thing on your weight, on your mind. Also, are you going to utilize this investment, the one that you bought, for example, and leverage it to more? Yeah. How are you going to mitigate your taxes in 2026? What are you doing with that? What's your plan in 5 years? Is this going to replace income for you? What's that strategy? So that's also the front end component of it. Yep. This should be a really minor stepping stone for you. How are you leveraging it and utilizing it so it applies to your life and your lifestyle? Yep. It shouldn't be a matter. At 20% should be pretty nominal to what
that's where it was at for me. Is like, no, I want this to be one of many. Eventually, like, I'm not saying I would stop doing what I'm doing, but and I would be terrible at stopping to just do nothing, right? Yeah. But have that as an option to say, oh, it could replace all my income because I'm doing all this stuff and I've leveraged it over time. And I've spent my time and energy and money in other places being able to do the things that I actually want to do, not go back and forth on all that stuff.
It should be passive and it should be taxes and wealth. Real estate should be taxes and wealth. It's generally not income unless you're really active.
Yeah.
And so taxes and wealth, another tool. And if you have kids, step up in basis upon death. You're going to give it to charity one day, whatever you choose to do in your legacy.
Yeah.
But having a strategy for it. So you're not just throwing money at random things. It's what's the intent? Put intent behind it.
Yeah. Love it. So how have you guys like separated? I know you obviously don't do a lot of marketing per se, like the paid ad part, but like how do you separate yourself if somebody's like, hey, I'm talking to a local management company or I'm talking to another company that does nationwide, kind of like what you do. Like how do you, I mean, obviously you have the bet thing, right? You have your experience, you have all that, but like what are some of the conversations that you're having with people? I'm like, hey, here's really does what make us.
Yeah. I don't see us as competing with local management companies.
Okay.
I mean, people do and they'll talk to others.
Yeah.
What we're doing is we really analyze the real estate investment component. So if you bought that property and let's say the analysis says you're going to have a 9 cap, post-operational 9% capitalization rate, you borrowed at a 6.5, and this is your leverage and your equity. And 2 years from now, where's that asset versus asset value versus depreciation versus and you did a step down in basis. So it's that we're talking about, which nobody else is doing.
Yeah.
And so we're analyzing your real estate annually, every year, from how the property and asset is performing. So that's an accountability conversation with us. Are we doing our job? But it's also, is the asset serving you? And then is there a point in time or pivot? Is it a legacy property that you'll keep for life? So the management, there's 600 whatever companies like me across the U.S. This is not novel. Anyone, they can kind of all do the same thing, same tools. That's not special. It's how you're analyzing this. Most people don't have the information or know how to look at it.
Yeah.
And so it's really just, here's the tools, here's the information, here's the questions you should be asking. And then it's for you to make those decisions. And we're in parallel with you as you go. You should also, by the way, invest in multifamily, commercial real estate, warehousing as you go. Yeah. What else are you going to invest in so you're healthy and diversified?
Yeah.
We're only managing the short-term rental. But you should be doing this.
There should be other things going on.
Yeah, exactly. So real estate becomes this other arm of your life. And so we're connected well with people who see that and do that, and that's our value, and we fit really, really well. Most of our clients make a lot. Right now, the Big Beautiful Bill brought tax acceleration back. So we're focused on that right now. That can change in any given year on what we're doing, but it's really a real estate advisory who happens to manage short-term rentals.
Yeah.
And so whenever I hear, local management company, in this market, I'm like, hey, they're great. Here's their data. Here's my data. And that's like it's not a slight. It's just, this is how, it's what we see. Yeah. And just give you the info. You're informed. You can do whatever you like.
Yeah. Well, so in one of the areas where I want to take the conversation is that I think, like for me, right? So we've profited money in the business the last couple of years, and I exited that business and kind of restarted. And this was like the first year where there was like legit what I would call like legacy starting profit, where it was awesome. Like, hey, got to do this thing. Awesome. And so with conversations with the guy that we use for the real estate stuff, with Peyton and all those different things, it was like, man, like you're going to want to make a play here, right? Yeah. But I know even as like the numbers made sense on paper, right? And you start to look at this, for me growing up, my family were like, we were say like middle class, but there was never the investments. There was never all the stuff, right? So for me, this is like brand new, where I'm self-educating, meeting people like yourself, and it's still scary as shit. Because you're like, okay, make this make sense, where I'm, putting $150K between the down payment and all the other stuff, and it's going to lower my tax, all that. But like, walk through, I guess, like the psychological aspect of why this needs to be a strategy, especially for entrepreneurs, not just for the legacy part, but like this is the smart thing to do today.
Well, so the Big Beautiful Bill did change. So, those that may not be aware, so you can buy a short-term rental, and if you can put it into service this year, you can accelerate the depreciation of all the 5-year, 7-year, et cetera, components of FF&E into that property into the first year. What that actually means is, typically you buy real estate, it has a depreciation schedule, 27 years, 39 and a half years. And so they have this long-winded depreciation schedule. through doing a cost segregation, you can accelerate everything. And short-term rentals allow you to do very little activity to achieve that in the year you purchase the property. And then you can turn it over to a management company. It goes passive the next year. So you don't have to do it anymore. So that accelerated depreciation, depending on the type of property, if it's furnished, it's land value, there's components to it. But you can buy a property. Let's say you buy a $750,000 property. You put 20% down, call it a $150,000 down payment. And let's call that a $175,000 tax deduction. If you made $500,000 last year, that's going to lower your adjusted gross income down to $325,000. You're paying federal income tax, and depending on your state, maybe state income tax now at $325,000 instead of $500,000. So depending on your terms, that's called that 32% of $175,000. You're saving $60,000 of the $150,000 down payment. Comes as a tax refund if you've already paid, or less you'll have to pay next year. X's and O's. Talk to a CPA. Talk to a Peyton Gillis, who's unbelievable. He's unique CPA who actually knows tax strategy really, really well. But that can allow the offset of this asset. Now you've lowered the basis of it. It's less cash you had to do. You're going to pay that in taxes. It's not tax avoidance either. You're applying it to an asset now. So you've moved from paying just money out to an IRS and it's gone to now it can go toward an asset, and that asset can generate you income. It's now a passive asset with passive income and passive activity for you. And then you could 1031 out of that at some point. You could sell it, give it to your kids. You could live in it, use it. You can turn to a long-term rental, whatever you choose to do long-term, but you have taken the depreciation from it. So you probably want to do a 1031 or something later. But so you're turning income into assets and tax.
So, and again, a lot of people maybe not know the depreciation. So like first year, like the stuff I'm going through, technically, what do you have to go through?
So the activity, there's the IRS.gov, they have 7 qualifiers for the tests for the activity. The 2 that are most obvious, and this is what you would explore, is you want to buy something and close on it toward the end of the year because your activity is from the date of close through the end of the year. Anything prior to date of close is investor hours. Again, I'm not a CPA or tax strategist. I'm just telling you the awareness of it. So always check with them. But let's say you close October 15th. Your principal activity is either substantially all the work, which that's the easiest one, is you just do it, you self-manage it. You got to have technically 1 reservation of 7 nights or less. It's good to have 3 or 4. For you to do substantially all the work, you took care of the guests, you coordinated things. You could pay a cleaner, but you got to do substantially all the work. So whatever that means, handle your own bookings, handle the guest services, you receive the active income. So as long as that active income is hitting your bank account, you can now say all the work here is active. This is you, whether you're W-2 or, you are on your 1040. I am a real estate professional actively managing my own short-term rental this year. Another one is 100 hours or more than anybody else. So depending on when you close, you could use a management company. You can use friends, whatever, to help you. You just have to, between you and a spouse, could share it. 100 hours greater than. You just have to document your hours. Your time is what they explore the most, or will audit, is the time component. So they want to know that you actually had your time. And then it's just receipts. You do a big investment, put a bunch of FF&E, that's furniture, fixture, and equipment. So if you're buying and putting in a pool table or things like that, that's all fine. It's a accelerant to the depreciation schedule. So
no, it's fascinating. Like, again, because it on the outside looking in, it's like, oh, great. You see people go do this. And then you're like, oh, I assume that there's all this confusion aspect. And then you hear it and you're like, like, not easy, but it's not that hard.
It's really not. And there's also creative ways to buy it. Like there are really smart, intelligent ways to where you can easily, if you're doing it, and I don't know the structure of how you did yours, but within 3 to 4 years, you could re-leverage that asset and do future tax mitigation with the same equity, because you can re-borrow against that at some point. That's a non-taxable event. So that can mitigate future income. So you are setting yourself up. If you hold to this for a few years, you'll have compounding values.
No, and that's where I think, again, this is just stuff that they don't teach you growing up.
No, nobody.
Right. But then even with that, right, until you get around some of the right people, you don't know what you don't know.
No.
So you continue to feed into the system of the traditional ways, not knowing that, hey, just go do what other people most most other people aren't willing to go do. And there's like this other side of the coin.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of it is you don't have to do this strategy. There's many different ways, but you should know it exists. And is that helpful to you?
Yeah.
Talk to your CPA and explore if that makes sense. But generally, it probably does.
Yeah.
Because the beautiful bill, that changed it this year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The Fed just lowered the rates again, so we're going to see a change in that. There's always two sides of the buy sell with these things. It's never, that's good, that's bad. It just changes it. When you change interest rate, you're changing inflation, deflation. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So where do you want to pivot yourself? What's the supply and inventory? So just our job is, I think the information's helpful.
Yep.
Here's everything we see and know, the questions that we understand, and the questions to answer and ask, and you need to make really good informed decisions.
Yeah.
We're not your partner per se, because we're not on the mortgage with you, right?
Sure.
So you're still responsible for this. You need to make smart, intelligent investment decisions. But we're giving you everything we know and see.
Yeah.
And that's a really good start.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then in terms of kind of like where your guys are growing your company, right? How have you managed growth internally, like with your team, to be able to say, hey, like, we got to keep up the demand. We got to keep performing. Like, how's that journey been for you?
So 2023 was the first year where we had left Missouri. I was managing for people I didn't know. And one of our clients, we had gone to Vegas with her, and she's a local gal. And I didn't know her, and we connected, and she sent me to Vegas, and we were doing a good job. And she was paying for tax strategy with a group and a former IRS agent who was teaching it. So she introduced me to her, and she invited me to her thing. And so that was then, and also Peyton. It was about the same time. So basically, I started getting connected with tax strategists accidentally because there was tax reduction and acceleration at that point, but it was in step-down basis prior. And so it still existed, but it was kind of this smaller component until this year. And so that referral, and then we just did what we said we would do. It was a lot of just me doing more than but like you promised your words. Right.
You found a way.
And there has been a lot of failure for 2 years trying to figure out how to do it. Who's our right clientele? Who's the right owner we work with? We've fired 20% of our owners each year. And that's been good. I mean, and when I say fire, I mean, you should probably self-manage.
You're a pain in the ass.
In the kindest way you can. But like, there's a reason it's not a fit. And we know who we help. Yeah. And we know how to help them if we're not.
Yeah.
And so that's done us well because it's made our referral, our name really good. And so each of these years, the tax strategy people, and this year is beyond. So we've hired a lot. Managing people is also really hard. Coaching, I should say, people. I love that. It's fun. The classic, EOS, I don't know if you use it or not, but you used the visionary term earlier. But like that visionary process of it, like that's fun. It's also hard. And the responsibility is always on you. So we're always hiring. There's a lot of growth. It's been so much. And so we haven't been able to accommodate everybody, which is, I guess, a good thing. Yeah. And you're just trying to hire more people to do what you said you would do and honor your word. So we've been doing that every year. End of the year is a rush because we have just people buying and we have properties available that, we have a client who's willing to sell it for a certain price. Well, okay, that works for both ends. So that's a good deal. Everybody wins. Cool. So we're helping people buying at the end of the year, trying to get the tax benefits. And then January, we'll get a chance to do our strategies again for the year. How's 2026 going to look? So every year it feels like we're rebuilding the plane, but we're currently in the air flying, but we got to rebuild it again. Yeah.
How have you, I know you kind of mentioned like coaching and leading your team. How have you made sure of like, hey, I'm sure probably between SOPs and processes and systems and software of like, hey, like this is our standard, right? Like this is what we promised them. Like, let's go follow the play to go do that. And how do we have it in a repeatable process?
Yeah. And how do you measure that in a way that's actually attainable, accountable, really reflects it too. In its constant exploratory conversations, it's endless. And you want people to buy in to the solution to it, not just you direct it. Yeah. Because when you direct it, you're always responsible for it. Yeah. The buy-in is, can you be part of the strategy of exploring how we're going to solve these shared issues? Sure. And so, we do implement EOS. This is our first year doing it. It's awesome. Entrepreneur operating system. Yep. We have an implementer too that helps. Oh, nice. But it's hard. And we've got great people and we need more always, but I want people to be part of the solution.
Yeah.
And then I'm more focused on their growth as a, like, try to be the coach of them as opposed to like focusing on the SOP, focusing on how they do it.
Yep.
We need this outcome. We need, if a cleaner does XYZ, that's a people thing. So let's identify that's people. How do we solve a people thing? And is that a conversation with them? Do we want to find out why that person did XYZ? Is that, like, how are we investing in people? What's our culture look like? Like that side of things.
Sure.
But that's expansive.
Yeah.
It's service-based.
Yeah. And then, with that, right, people are looking at, Airbnb stuff right now or whatever they're looking at. And I started to get people saying, oh, isn't it a terrible time to buy an Airbnb because there's so many of them? People are starting to go back to hotels more. Like, what do you tell somebody that's like, again, right? It can go both ways, but what do you tell somebody that's like, oh, hey, it's too saturated?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah. Well, first, let's use data. So 9% of the in-vacation user was using a hotel 5 years ago. Today, it's 18%. So that's gone up, but the inventory supply of available short-term rental for people to book has tripled.
Yeah.
So it is true. What market you're in, what the market demand is. I would never say the saturation is the problem. It's what do you got to do to be that first page, second page consistently, at least 50% of the time on each channel.
Yeah.
And so what you have to do in a more saturated market is a little bit more laborious to get to the front end because you have more competition, but it doesn't actually challenge you. The oversaturation is that 13th page, 14th page, 15th page. Nobody's booking there anyway.
Yeah.
So it's just the labor you got to do to get to the front end. But once you're there, you're fine. The top performers are doing just fine in any market because they still have demand. There are people looking and booking. If you went to Airbnb right now and you were going to make a booking somewhere, your first page or two, what's the review count? What's the price? Does it accommodate what we want? Yeah. Where is it? Like those are a handful of questions that you're asking and you're booking there.
Yeah.
You're not going further and further. So the saturation doesn't affect you. It's just, are you on that first page as a host or not?
Yeah. So what makes a good client of yours, right? That says, hey, like I'm clear on what I want probably, but like, I'm just going to let you guys do your thing. What makes a good client? And then what makes a potential client that is like, hey, we got to let you go for one reason or another?
In the end, it comes down to trust.
Okay.
Do you trust us to do what we said we would do?
Yeah.
Trust us to do it. Execute it. Give us the time and energy. So when we build you a projection and we say, we're going to be held accountable to it, trust us to actually do that.
Yeah.
And we'll do it. And so usually it's those who let us do it. And that doesn't mean they're in the way. I mean, use your property. It's yours. You don't even have to talk to us. You just make yourself a reservation, whatever. Give it to a friend, give it as a giveaway, whatever. But it's let us do it. Hold us accountable to the performance, the outcome.
Yep.
That's our job. We're all driven to that same, because that should be nominal to what you're doing overall.
Got it.
I spend most of my time connecting with clients about fatherhood, actually, than I do about their property. That ends up being what we talk about. It's because it should become secondary. We are or we are not.
Yeah.
If we are not, you need to make a better decision with your real estate. Let's help you do that.
Yeah.
If it is, cool. How are you leveraging that? What are you going to do with it? That's it.
Yep.
So trusting us to do it. If you don't trust us enough to do it and you're constantly worried about the booking, worried about pricing, you're worried about your pictures, you're worried about the listing reviews, you're worried about those things, you should probably just self-manage because you're worried about it. Like, if it's keeping you up at night, and you're stressed about it, then you either don't trust us or it's too important. And so you probably should self-manage. And here's how you can. Go do a great job. And I'm rooting for your success, genuinely. And so I do want you to be successful, but you're wearing out our team with it. And you're asking questions. We're already doing it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, man. Well, this has been an awesome episode. Any last pieces of advice that maybe we didn't touch on, but you're like, hey, this would be helpful for somebody that's exploring this type of stuff or has an Airbnb or short-term rental that maybe they're property managing it on their own and have just been closed off.
Yeah. We always will do, we have a form, and I don't know if you put this out, but on staylage.com, STAYLAGE, our website, there's a form you can put in your property address. We'll give a free analysis on how we think we'll perform.
Yep.
You literally look at that and look at how you're doing. Would we make you close to the same? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And that's what we'll be held accountable to. So that's a bet. I'll always take it. We'll try to get that within a day or two back to you. And then, we'll follow it up with a call, a get to know you exploratory thing. That's part of it. If not, send an email. I'll just give you my tips and tricks. Maybe something's helpful to somebody. Beyond that, this is, and I believe your direction here is about how you market and how you explore it. To me, it's just a bet. It's a conversation. Very relational. We can't help everybody. We can help most that are in this space. And if you're paying a lot of money in taxes, it's probably something to explore because you probably have a lot of income. If you have a lot of income, you probably have a tax problem.
Yeah.
If you are trying to gain more income, it's probably a different avenue.
Yeah.
Like if you're buying this, you probably need to self-manage until you don't have an income problem.
Yep. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, where can people stay connected with you online? I know you mentioned the website, but just mention that again.
Yeah.
Where can people stay connected with you? All that good stuff.
Yeah, it's just STAYLAGE.com. I don't really post to social media. I don't really never have really. Just staylage.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. This is an incredible episode. So I appreciate it. I'm glad we got the opportunity to do it. So thank you.
That's fun. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
And thank you to the guests for their listening or watching today's episode. If you're watching the episode on YouTube, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, something you learned, something that you found interesting. Make sure to stay connected with Jeff as well, especially if you have any questions, if you have short-term rentals and you're just not getting what you need out of it, go to staylage.com. We'll have all that stuff in the show notes. And if you're listening to this episode on the podcast platform of your choice, leave that 5-star review, subscribe, download all of our episodes so that way you get notified every single time a new one comes out. And remember, authority isn't built overnight, it's built over time.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode. We sure do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed to the show wherever you consume podcasts. This way you'll get notifications as new episodes become available. If you feel so inclined, please leave us a review. We sure do appreciate it. Until next time, friends.